Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Design Recharge. I'm super excited because as a designer trying to be an illustrator, maybe hoping to be soon or one day feel better about calling myself an illustrator, I am excited to have episode number 247 with Lisa Glanz. I got to know who Lisa was from the Honest Designers podcast, which I have friends that do that. I knew all the boys, but I didn't know Lisa, and she was representing women, I think, in that, and standing up for herself with all those boys that kind of gang up on you sometimes.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, they tease me.
They do, but you get them back, especially when you break it down, and then they start doing their, Dustin does his beatbox.
Yes.
So, but Lisa was a designer and had her own, she started out, you studied design in college, right?
Uh-huh, that's right.
And then you were a designer and you worked for other people, right? And then you went out on your own as a freelancer.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, for quite a while, actually, about 10 or so years. Yeah. So I had my own business for a long time.
So then how did you, and this is what the meat of this is about, and this is such a selfish, I think, episode, but clearly a lot of other people want to know. And if you're just joining us, feel free. The chat is open and available. So I'm happy to have you guys ask questions over there, and I'll get them to Lisa. But when did you start doing, I know you made jewelry, which I also did but when did you make that leap of, hey, I'm going to start drawing and illustrating, or painting and illustrating?
Well, I've obviously been doing that my whole life, as I'm sure you have also been dabbling in that here and there. But I never ever took it seriously in terms of, I didn't think it was a possibility that I could actually do it as a career. So I would say, look, I struggled like psychologically with the whole concept of trying to, get past the fear of, am I good enough to be an illustrator? The biggest thing was this whole battle. I'd grown this freelance business that actually was quite successful. And now, like, why would I want to change that? Most people would have thought I was crazy, like you've got a good thing going. I was earning a decent salary. And now I want to change the whole thing and start from scratch. And, what if I'm crap and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it took me, I would really say it took me years to work at my head while I was still doing my freelance graphic design business. But when I finally did decide to, okay, you've got to take this seriously, I really want to change my life. I think it took about a year of a lot of hard work. Like full out. I mean, I was working nights. I sacrificed a lot. My weekends.
Because you were still working your freelance? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So I was still, running a business, as I said, quite a busy business. And at the same time, so desperate to change, my work and become a full-time illustrator. And so I started producing products. The first place I sold was on Etsy, and I worked really hard to kind of figure stuff out, like how does this whole world exist, and how do you get into it? And so as I said, I worked a lot at night and on weekends. And I don't think I ever saw my friends, and Cliff, my other half, I don't think he saw me for a year, just about.
Did you sell, because you were making jewelry with your sister, and I know you were doing kind of craft fairs and things locally, but were you also selling your jewelry on Etsy?
Initially, I tried to, but our biggest problem in this country, you can't post overseas successfully. So that was a crash and burn very quickly. We probably pulled the plug after about 4 months, because we realized this is just not going to work. It's just too many, sort of roadblocks along the way. So I had to, the next step was then I had no choice in a way to kind of take on the illustration thing, because that didn't actually require posting. It was a digital product people could buy. And so in a way that, like, the bad thing, from a bad situation, a good thing came out, because that was the solution. I want to make digital products. And yeah, so that's what I did. And I would say it took a year for me to get to a point where I could actually leave my freelance graphic design business. But yeah, as I said, it was a year of serious graft. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So on the Honest Designers, you have talked about one of your first early illustration projects with you were drawing zoo animals, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And that it wasn't very good, in which I have a hard time because I've seen your zoo animals and they're super cute. But I think so this is the thing that gave me the most hope, because you were like, I thought it was good back then, and I look at it now and you kind of want to throw up in your mouth or something.
Yes,
right?
basically. Well, that was actually before I started doing the Etsy selling stuff. So this is when I was still a freelance graphic designer, and I still had this like dream, this like, fantasy that somehow I can maybe do a bit of illustration while I was doing graphic design. And when this client approached me and said, look, we're looking to redo our buses, it's basically a tour bus, and we need a whole lot of animals. Do you know somebody that can do it for us? And I was like, I can do that. So they said, okay, because my graphic design stuff wasn't too bad. They trusted me, kind of thing. And I did it, and because I was so terrible at drawing at that stage, I thought it was good. And
So like, what year was this? And you might not know, but like, you were a freelance designer for 10 years. So
yeah,
like,
kind of halfway through
okay,
that journey. Yeah, I'd say about halfway through. And so I was really established as a graphic designer, and
right.
I had a client base, and all was going well. And so I decided to dip my toe into actually getting paid to do illustration work. And yeah, it was a disaster. I mean, this guy's face when I showed him, it just said it all. He just took one look at it and he said, that's not quite what we had in mind. I was devastated because at the time I was proud. I was so proud of what I'd done, and yeah, it was really bad.
So then how did you get, so I mean, looking back, it's hilarious, but at the time, I mean, you're like, that would have been kind of crushing. Like,
it was at the time. I would say, like, if I can break it down to time frames, maybe, I mean, obviously that day I was devastated because like, this is kind of like my dream, and someone's telling me I'm really crap, so then, because I guess this is a personality trait, and it's something that I really hope that a lot of people can use to their benefit. It kind of motivated me, because then I realized, okay, hang on a minute, if I really want to do this illustration stuff, I have to really put in the graft, and I've got to get better. There's so many things. It's my fault that he didn't like it. It's not his fault. So yeah, it's you have to then do the next best thing, which is just get better, and that's what pushed me. So a good thing came from it.
absolutely. So then,
Yeah.
so then you keep doing the design, but something is losing its life for you with design,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I mean, I'm sure so many of you guys can relate to this. I mean, client work can kill you. It's it kind of slowly eats away at that passion, because you're dealing with other people's ideas all the time. You're trying to execute their way of thinking, their sort of vision. And yes, it is our job, and that can get be exciting. But when after years and years and years of doing what other people are telling you to do, and every time you kind of bring up your idea, which is a little offbeat sometimes, you get shot down because it's just not what they want. They want the kind of run of the mill. They're scared to
Right.
go beyond. So yeah, I was desperate to have my own voice, and it was, as I said, that was the most difficult, the mental side. I had to really work through having enough faith in myself and my own ability, and know that I can make it. I can make it on my own. I don't need clients to actually make a living. And that's quite a yeah, it was quite a mental thing.
You did go from a big shift to, and I think that's another part of being a freelancer. You're always trying to get new clients and trying, because some clients are just one-off clients, or they need you maybe twice a year. It's not really sustainable. And then you have some clients that are a retainer, that you do stuff for every month. But
Yeah.
And those are great, but they can also be kind of killer, right? If it's not really exciting, or they're not willing to change or try new things. But then there's always that side of getting new business. Well, now you kind of threw that away, and then you're now trying to get, customers. So it's at least you understood about how to get business, I think, or how to get customers for the businesses. I think that's been a extra little superpower in your hat, so that you knew how to maybe reach your audience of people, because it's not just designers who are buying your products. It's also people who are doing parties for their kids, right? And which is a lot of people. And Kim says, amen. There's one thing that gets me motivated. It's someone telling me no, or that I can't do something.
Exactly. So, I'm the same. Yeah, totally. I'm the same, Kim.
So then me and you talked about it the other day, and I just want to mention this because I really found this really uplifting for me, was that I asked you, how long did it take for you to start calling yourself an illustrator? So you did the bus graphics, and you must have pivoted and found someone else to do their graphics for them, right? That 5 years into freelancing, or did you just lose the client?
Well, actually he walked away. So that's how bad it was. I in my graphic design business, I very, very seldom did any illustration work, because I just didn't have the expertise, and I didn't have the confidence. And every time I kind of did do any illustration work, I would do it in a small way, and I would hide it. It wasn't a big part of the project. So if I needed proper illustrations for a job, I'd outsource that, which is kind of sad, actually. But yeah, that's really what happened. I would say the only time I really started calling myself an illustrator was probably about 2-3 years ago. I mean,
but so you'd been selling. You started selling on Creative Market and Etsy and stuff. How many years ago?
I would say my first product was 2014. Okay. So it's not that long ago. And I would say that it took me about 2 years to kind of really fully accept the fact that I was now earning a living as an illustrator, and I could literally say, okay, that's what I do for a living. But to this day, when people ask me what do I do, I still fumble. I still stammer and can't get it out, because often, it's a combination of people don't understand what that is, mixed with, I guess, there's a little niggle inside of me that thinks, am I really an illustrator? Am I good enough?
You are. We should make you a plaque, right? And you can hang it on the wall, and just like you guys did on Honest Designers, you're like award winner, because so many people just right? But you definitely are. And I feel like you don't want to call yourself something and then have the industry laugh at you, or be like, oh my gosh, she's calling herself an illustrator. But
exactly,
Lisa, you can do it. You could give the awards away that could tell people if they were illustrators or not.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you.
Matt has a question. He said, is kind of about getting away from niche of clients that you did their work for. How is your illustration work different? Are you doing your own thing, which definitely, let's kind of give them an idea of what you're doing. And are you niching based on a customer need? So, and maybe this is a great time for you to pull some work up to kind of show him that you are kind of in a niche, I guess.
Yeah.
And when you got started on Creative Market, were you always doing such niche things?
No.
Okay.
When I first started, I literally did what everybody else was doing, because I was so clueless and I was fumbling my way through, that new sort of realm. you know, I obviously chose the stuff that was popular because I wanted to make sales, you know. So I obviously did what was popular, but I tried to find new ways in doing it. But over time, I realized that you can't compete with the masses. Well, you can, but I think the struggle or the battle is just that much harder. So I decided quite quickly in my journey to rather focus on my strengths and focus on finding a niche that I absolutely love doing, that I think I'm pretty good at, and that I think is actually valuable to others. So it's pointless, you know, focusing something that you know is not going to sell. You know, you do need to have some market research, and you can do that very sort of informally. You know, you can look at on Pinterest what's popular, Etsy, whatever. You know, it doesn't have to be this full-on survey that you send out, but you know, but you can you know, quickly get an idea of what is popular. And then I think with anybody or anything that you do, your strengths are always going to be your uniqueness. So if you can concentrate on what you can offer to you know, bring to the table, whether it's you know, a different style or a different approach, or that's definitely
Humor. Sometimes people will put their
yeah,
humor in, and
exactly.
or even when people put lettering with their illustrations or something like that. But
Yeah,
for you, you kind of developed a style. Now, not all of your characters look alike, but you definitely know that they're yours. And then you do some other explorations. There are the palette work that the pieces that you send
yes,
me.
yes,
Those
yes.
are really kind of different, where you're really kind of exploring maybe different styles or brushes or however you're making these characters.
Yeah.
And then I know you have the 5 minute 5 minute drawing and I'm going to put that up. It's her Instagram feed. She has 2 Instagram feeds, and 5 is the number. I kept looking it up. I kept typing, and I'm like, they told me wrong, but it's the number 5. So do you want to show something real quick, just so that we can kind of get
Yeah,
an idea?
so I decided, as I said, quite early on, to focus on a particular feeling, or attract a certain type of client. So I think what I'll do is I'll just quickly share my screen.
That would be great. So so you knew that you wanted to attract who do you have like a picture of the person that's, I would assume maybe it's a woman buying your work,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So I try to kind of create an avatar, perfect avatar customer, and basically kind of figure out what that person would enjoy and what they would want my stuff for. So my perfect customer would be a woman who probably has kids, who loves crafting, who likes creating with her kids, possibly has her own Etsy shop where she sells her own creations and she uses my work to make them. You know, so and also has this like attraction towards whimsical, fun, sort of, you know, cute illustrations that make her feel warm and good and fuzzy. And so that was my aim, and ever since I've decided on that, I've really focused on that. And yes, I do experiment a little bit with other stuff, but generally that's where I aim my products, you know, towards. And yeah, so far it's been successful.
Do you have a
Again,
name for your lady?
I don't. Maybe you can give me one.
You should. I don't know. We'll think about it.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you get people from all over, or do you have customers that are mainly in the Europe, in the States, in South Africa? Because you are in South Africa, if anybody doesn't know.
Yeah. My biggest base is America, for sure, with hands down. And then it seems to be the UK, and then Europe, you know, and all the surrounding smaller countries. But yeah, it's definitely US based. I would say probably the biggest reason for that is that you guys are more computer, you know, orientated nation. You understand the whole digital world, and you know the whole thing about Etsy. I think a lot of customers or sorry, sellers on Etsy are American. Yeah, so they're my biggest base, I'd say. Let me just quickly share my screen. Okay, so this is my Instagram feed.
Do
Let me
you
just.
name your characters that you draw?
You mean like just
Like, is
in
that
my
guy
head?
Leroy? Yeah, like the mouse. He looks like he's going on an adventure. Do
I
you?
actually I don't actually name them, but I often start out with a story in my head of what this character is doing before it's even hit the paper, and I think it's because I find it quite important to kind of get the feeling as much as I can in myself
Mm.
before I actually start drawing, because I think it translates better when you do that. I always use how I feel as a gauge whether the picture is being successful or not,
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is clearly, sorry, my internet's a little slow. This is obviously clearly, whimsical and young sort of, so this client base would be people who probably do nursery prints, that create their own nursery prints. So yeah, I tend to definitely have more of a childlike approach to my work,
But then you throw
probably
other things.
because that's how I live.
You throw other things in, like the portrait creator, right?
Yes,
Um, and you do a lot of the graphics for Honest Designers. I think you guys rotate that, right?
yes, we started rotating that. Yeah,
Because you used to do all of them, right?
all of them. Yeah, and I couldn't keep up.
But then,
Yeah,
so
so
like
yeah, we.
the portrait creator, and then you also do patterns. So you have some, you sell also, I guess, some off of Spoonflower, correct?
Yes. So that that's actually kind of my other love or passion, is that I want to become more prolific in my pattern work. Yeah, let me just stop that. Yeah, so basically I want to do that more regularly. The clients that I currently take on are only for pattern design, so and those have all been for baby wear. They've either been baby wear or baby sort of blankets and that kind of thing, and that's the market that I'm aiming for, and I think my work suits. So yeah.
So I guess that's how you kind of pivot once if you did a bunch of graphics. I think I finally hear your dogs.
Sorry, it's
No,
actually not mine.
no, it's totally fine. I was just like, I didn't know how your dog was always so quiet. But anyway, I guess it's your neighbor. Um, so Amy says she lives in North Carolina, and Spoonflower is actually in North Carolina.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I knew it was
Yeah,
America, but not there. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but that wasn't something. Did you start off doing pattern surface design?
No, that was something. Okay, I have to admit, I have way too many ideas in my head and things that I want to do. That's half my problem. But and so one of the things is that I wanted to do licensing work for patterns, but you can't really do that half-heartedly. You got to do it full on. And so the Spoonflower thing is like an outlet for me. It's I have so many more patterns that I'd like to add to Spoonflower, but I just don't have the time to do that. And hopefully my new assistant will start doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so that is a sort of a side passion, but I didn't start out doing that. And I mean, I'm basically self-taught, and again, my first ones were a little sort of remedial, and the better I've become, the more proficient I've become, and that kind of stuff. So you got to start somewhere, and you learn as you go, and I think that's half the fun, though, don't you think?
Totally. And then that
Mm.
also, as a passive income, right? You're putting things in not all one bucket, right? It's
Yeah.
not all these I don't know what her name is. I gotta give your customer a name. Molly.
Lucy.
Lucy.
Molly's good. Oh, either.
Anyway, maybe she's a Southern girl, Lucy Molly or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so one of those. So Lucy, she, she may not need she might not be a sewer, right? And she might not need the patterns, but she may have create a whole dress for her kids. She takes that and she does the uses some of the same sort of style or color palette that you have for the invitations for the party or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But now it doesn't just make her, now you have other customers that are buying your textile designs or your textiles,
Yes.
they're getting those printed. And I think then it doesn't just find one client that is going to be the only person that's really going to purchase from you.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, even if these different avenues that you try aren't necessarily 100% successful and they're not bringing in the big bucks, and the point is, it's more about, well, I think it's important to play and to figure stuff out as you go along. And you might open a shop on, I don't know, another platform that doesn't necessarily work out, but that's okay. You tried it, and all these exposures, that it does come back to you somewhere, whether they find your website, whether they tell their mother that, have you seen this person's work, or whatever. So as you said, it's good to diversify, but also to remember not to diversify so much so that you're not concentrating on your
anything.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have a core sort of function, and you're not building that,
Well, and yours are kind of separated from that core. So these all the
Yes.
ideas, but you really focused in for a while on the core, got that
Correct.
really going. And then you said you did it for a year before you went full time. You said, okay,
Yes.
this can pay the bills. I don't need to do both.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Were your clients like, what? Or did they kind of know that you were thinking about this? Or one day it was like, look, we're breaking up. Bye.
It was very tough because they'd been long-standing clients of mine, some of them for 10 years, and I literally sent them a Dear John letter. I mean, I basically said, I've really appreciated your business, but it's time for me to follow my dream. And I mean, it may work, it may not work. I might come knocking on your door 6 months from now. I don't know, but I've got to give it a go, because I don't want to be this old woman and not have tried it. I've got to try it. And yeah, and I'm glad I did, because it's taken me on a journey of notes.
Yeah, but it's also been really lucrative for you as well. So it's like you didn't have to. So do you think, because I think that we're pretty similar, because I think you're really, well, if anybody knows me, looked at my office, they would think, oh, well, you're not quite organized like Lisa, Diane, but you're organized in your head, right? And your office is also organized, but you have things, how things go, and there's with clients, or how much money you need to make, or how much you need to be doing. But then do you think you could have done it quicker? I mean, a year is a long time to do both, like really full steam.
I think I could have done it quicker if I dropped the one. Well, I mean, obviously, if I stopped the graphic design sooner. The thing is, though, I'm just this way inclined. I can never let go of something fully without a certainty that something else is going to carry me. The same thing for when I went into freelance work. I actually worked half day for somebody first, and the other half for myself, before I fully took the leap and went totally, on my own. So that's just who I am. It's my personality. But it's not to say it can't be done quicker. It can. It just depends on how much you are willing to sacrifice, I guess.
Well, that's what I mean about like control or organizing. It's like, well, I just want to make sure, and I kind of want to make sure that the bills are paid, and I want to, it's risky. And I feel like you've done risky things. It's just like when you were a designer and you decided, hey, I'm going to try to illustrate this instead. That was a risk, but I love that it didn't stop you. I know that it was a mental kind of setback, but it was also probably the fuel that you needed to be like, hey, if I want to do this, I have to put more time into it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And that was the same for this whole new venture. I mean, I knew if I wanted to make it work, I had to put in the time, and it's sacrifice,
And you did, and it works.
Yes.
All right, so you and I talked about just the struggle of creating, and For
Yeah.
me, that's been a really big block. I've kind of been in a creative funk for the last 2.5 weeks. So, and I really haven't done any, I've drawn, but I haven't done anything. I like to cut things out. And so I haven't cut anything out. So it's just been in my sketchbook. Um, and how sometimes we do everything but, right? I was telling you that I was like, I should just really go rake leaves. And I mean, I hate raking leaves. I hate it. But I just, even though when I'm creating, I have so much joy, it's just, there is really this whole mental barrier, deer in
Struggle.
headlights, a really big struggle for me. And it was really nice to know that you don't like to wash the dishes, but you have to wash the dishes before you get your paintbrush out and start going.
Yeah.
So and we talked about this a little bit. Can you kind of give everybody an idea of what you told me and how you've gotten better about that?
I think, as I said to you, it took me a while to figure out why that is. Why? Because for me, I'm a problem solver. I want to understand why I'm doing it so I can fix it. But yes, I'd be procrastinating and doing anything other than my drawing, even though I knew, as you said, I'd love it, and the end result would be great inside, all that kind of stuff. So I think it boils down to the fact that we are being challenged both mentally and skill level wise. So it's a hard thing to impose on yourself voluntarily. So you're basically telling yourself, okay, we're now going to sit down and do something difficult that's going to challenge you. It may not go well. So yeah, and with anything that's learning, and anything that you want to get better at, requires a little bit uncomfortable state. So and also change, learning and that kind of thing is change, and change is something that human beings just run a mile from. So I think all these kinds of small nuances are going on in your brain, and you're having these debates and arguments, but then the irony is that once you sit down and you get past that barrier, it's like just joy. It's wonderful, and I think also the biggest struggle is that we put too much pressure on ourselves to, want the best results from the whole exercise. And we forget that when we draw, it doesn't matter if it looks terrible, because you can just start again. I mean, no one's like hanging over your shoulder and you only have one shot, and if you get it wrong, you're dead. And
Right.
we put so much pressure on ourselves. So over the years, what I've done is to remind myself of that, and know that I really love doing it while I'm doing it, and B, it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. So if we make mistakes, and if we're not really good at executing a bunny, holding a guitar or whatever, it's okay. You've got another go. So I think it's important to remember that anything worthwhile is going to be a bit of a struggle, and it is going to be a bit difficult, but it's worth doing.
All right, so let's pivot and talk a little bit about you doing the 5-minute drawing and why.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously a great illustrator, and you obviously have really good, you do watercolors by hand, you do the drawing by hand, you can also now do them on the iPad Pro. So why was it important for you to take on the challenge of drawing every day on the iPad?
I struggled, and I still do a lot with digital drawing. In other words, drawing actually on an iPad. I'm so attached, as you can see, I'm holding a pencil. I'm so attached to my pencil.
And you have drawings over there, I see.
Oh, these were to show you how terrible my first work was.
Oh yeah,
which I'll show you just now.
Yeah.
So because I'm so attached to the pencil and paper, it's great. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that I wanted to get better at the digital side of things as well. So, because then, it's nice to be able to, you got your iPad with you and you want to, whip up a quick drawing with color. It's easy to do that. But if you feel uncomfortable drawing on it, then it's not going to look that great. So that was half the reason why I wanted to do it on my iPad, to get better with that. And yeah, the other reason was to try and produce something that looks okay as fast as possible, you know, which is quite hard. 5 minutes is not long.
No, it's really fast. And
Mm.
so it seems also like the palette ones, was that another series that you were doing just to kind of work on color or work on, because it seems like you've done series of things, and maybe there are challenges because you're pushing styles or techniques. Is that something that you regularly do as you look back and you realize, oh yeah, I kind of do that regularly? Or is it something that you're like, no, it was at a specific spot, I needed to push myself because I was in a rut?
That kind of actually developed naturally. It's basically what I've been finding is that the 5 minute drawings that have intrigued me to carry on, in other words, because the 5 minute drawings, you know, you can't, they're not finished really. You know, I suppose it depends. Sorry, it depends on what you call finished. But yeah, so there's some that I enjoyed doing at the time so much that I actually wanted to take them further, and those ones that I took further are the ones that became, you know, the playful palettes drawing. So yeah, it's I guess it was an organic thing, and it's been interesting for me to see how, you know, drawing on the iPad changes the look of the drawing, even though my actions are the same and my intentions are the same as if I was doing it in another medium. It's just, yeah, it's fascinating how just changing a medium can truly change how your work looks, you know, at the end of the day. It's totally different. Yeah.
Well, it's
So
just like if you decided to draw instead of with the pencil you started to draw like with a really thick, I mean, this is like it's
yeah.
like, I don't know. It's really thick. I got it in Art Snacks this month, but it's a big. I was like, man,
Mm,
I kind of feel
huge.
like a kid, you know, like to
Yeah,
draw
you
like
start
this
doing
or
this.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I think that different mediums, but I don't think it's a solution to do all digital. It's just, it's good to know different mediums because your work changes
Exactly.
and grows,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, completely. I mean, when I first, you know, my technique of how I actually take my drawings from beginning to end has changed because I discovered Procreate, and that has a huge influence on my end result. So it's so important. I think. Look, I've got to say, I think it's important not to get caught up in the whole technology and feeling that you need the latest gimmick or gadget or whatever. But I do think it's important to kind of just dabble in things that are not part of your usual medium that you use, so, because you never know, you might find something exciting that changes your style.
Right. All right. So Paige asked earlier, she said, do you think it's the pressure to always produce good work that maybe stops people? Because I really think what you said,
Yes.
you can just start over. Like, why didn't I think about that? Like, it's just paper. Like, really, you
Yeah.
can't afford 25 cents, Diane, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, like, it's not, turn it over then, you know?
Yeah. It's definitely, the pressure is a huge factor, and I think also where we get stuck is that we don't know when to stop when it's
Mm,
not going well.
right.
So yeah, we try and fix it, and we basically, you know, this cake is burnt, it's flopped, but yet we're trying to plaster icing on it, and you know,
Right.
it's just throw it out and start again.
Right.
um, and I think that whole, and trust me, I know it well, that whole deep frustration that starts building and building, before you know, you just want to take your pencil and stab yourself and stab the screen and stab everything. So so yeah, it's kind of like a vicious circle, and it's very important as a creative to try and stop that as soon as possible, because it can get quite bad, you know.
So
It's quite destructive.
Amy says that's one thing she loves about the iPad is because it's so much easier to start over for her.
Yeah,
So
true.
Kent asked, did you start the 5 minute drawing? Was it as a result of seeing Dustin's drawing a day?
Yeah, so Dustin started because, besides his own motivation to do it, we were discussing this whole daily practice thing, and he decided to do it, and I've always wanted to, and I just thought, well, if Dustin can do it, then I can do it. You know, somehow I've got to find the time. And I just thought he inspired me, and because it's easy to make excuses. I mean, I've made them for years, and it is a thing. It does hang over your head every day, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, but it does force you to I guess take yourself seriously, and yeah, have a goal that you follow through with. You know, it's a promise you make, and you keep it.
You know, one thing as I've kind of analyzed this, because I've tried just drawing and been in this funk of not drawing, I think that part of the issue people have is they don't put the importance on their own growth, or they don't put the importance on doing something for them. So like Ian, when he was doing his calligraphy, he did it while his wife was watching Downton Abbey, which Dustin calls Downtown Abbey, or right? Whatever. Anyway, because Ian didn't like that show, and so he knew she was happy watching that. He could do his calligraphy. So, but it's this commitment to yourself. It's a commitment to growth. And I think maybe sometimes people think, well, I'm not worth it. And I know that the only reason I think that is like, why? Because I'm similar to you. I'm trying to analyze, why have I had such a hard time doing this? And I always put client work first. I always do their stuff. But really, I could do better for my clients if I was growing more. So
absolutely.
It's just been this sort of battle. So I would think that it is a struggle, but it's a commitment to you, right?
You know, it's a without getting too, you know, woo-ish, but it all ties into becoming a better human being. You know, whether you're a baker or I don't know, surfer or whatever, you want to get better at what you do. And you also want to find things that bring you joy, and if illustration or making jewelry or I don't know, baking makes you happy, then you really do have a responsibility to yourself, because ultimately if you're a happier person, again, this sounds cliched, but it's true, if you're a happier person, your partner's a happier person. If your partner's a happier person, your household's a happier person, and so it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it is important, because I think it's I always have this thing, like, if you're able to get better at something, you should. In other words, if you're struggling, if you don't have the money to do something, and you know, that's understandable, but if you're able, if you have the tools, if you have the time, if you have, you know, find ways to figure stuff out, you should. It's a responsibility to yourself and the world, essentially.
All right, so I totally agree. And Amy says one of her issues with keeping up with a commitment for drawing every day is coming up with ideas. So she really likes what you said about coming up with a story, and then give it a character. So let's kind of backstep just a little bit. We're on question 2.5. We've really just whizzed through these questions, Lisa. We'll just have to do a part 2. But there are some advantages to being an illustrator and a designer that are our sensitivity and our quirkiness, right? And I think in illustration, they can come out maybe a little bit easier than they can in design. So as an illustrator, in the beginning, and maybe you'll hold up that one that you don't like, were you putting a lot of personality into your work? And how did you get to that stage of putting more personality and the quirkiness into your work?
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing about also, you know, growing as a person. I used to, because I am a sensitive person. I see things differently to most people. I notice stuff. You know, generally artistic people do. They might pick up little nuances and quirkinesses, and even feel the energy in a room, like, whoa, what's going on here? And nothing's really obvious, you know, but you can sense it. And that's our advantage. And you know, the world doesn't really appreciate that in a way. And sometimes even being different and thinking differently can actually, you know, you can be teased at school, or your parents can think that you're psycho or whatever, you know. But as an illustrator, you have this opportunity to really delve into yourself and into this inner world that you've created for yourself, and it's a safe world. Well, I hope it is, and yeah, and you can use that to your advantage to, as you said, bring personality into your work. So I think you're absolutely right. I only started doing that much later. In fact, only really started doing that the last couple of years. You know, when I figured out, like, okay, so this is the direction I want to go with my illustration. This is the kind of clients I want to reach. And when I had this moment of clarity, it was quite an epiphany. It was a sensation, even, if I can put it that way. When I drew something that for the first time really had me, like, totally in it, this sounds so cliched, but I felt like, wow, where have I been? You know, and I mean, it wasn't even that fantastic, but it was just, I felt so comfortable doing it, and I felt joy, and I felt whatever. So for me, that has become my gummy berry juice, in a way, because it's like what I use to really propel my work. And yeah, so it helps me to, I guess, produce faster, feel happier doing it, and hopefully the end result is better, because you know, you're doing something that's part of yourself. But yes, I can show you work that has no personality.
Do you think it's because we are trying not to, or we don't understand ourselves yet, or we're trying, like, why we don't, just because it's new and we're trying to be safe?
It's, I think, largely to do with fear. Yeah. I think my biggest hurdle that I had to overcome was you know, showing a part of myself. I knew that when I was, you know, producing work that was close to my heart and more from inside of me, I knew that it was exposing myself, and I was petrified, you know. But you have to do it if you want good results. I think it's essential. I don't know. It's hard. It's a journey. There's only nothing else I can say about that, other than it is going to be a hard journey.
One drawing at a time, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just know that the most important thing is knowing that, you know, there's so many artists go through this, writers go through this,
right? Musicians, for sure.
Musicians, we all go through that, and the exciting thing is that battle that you're having inside means you're in the right place. It means that you are starting to challenge yourself creatively, and you're questioning, you know, is this what I want to do? I'm so scared to, and that's good. It means that you are, you know, you're scratching that surface of greatness, and we can only be great if we are ourselves. You know, you're not going to be great if you copy somebody else, then you're just a copycat. So yeah, it's important.
Awesome. Show us that piece.
Oh, okay. So this is the era of the bust drawings with the animals.
Okay. When you're still working as a designer, right?
Yes.
You're making your living as a designer. So was this something you did on the side as you're trying to start, but you didn't do it for a client?
This, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was for a friend who did have a newsletter, and she needed like an illustration. So I said, oh, I'll do it. I cannot believe I'm showing this. That's all I can say. It's terrible.
It's not terrible. If I did that, I'd be like, sweet. Oh my gosh, I did hands. I love it. Okay. But so it's definitely not in your style. I couldn't see, maybe colors, I guess. But there's
no joy. There's no,
yes, I don't know. It doesn't have a lot of life.
No, it's dead. It's absolutely dead. And I think that's what I was saying about it. You got to, there's no me in there.
But it was the starting point, right? It was that step that you needed, because at the time, didn't you think it was good?
Yeah, I was proud that I managed, as you said, I was proud that somebody's sitting at a table.
I know.
So yeah, definitely. And trust me, that took me forever and ever to do. So yeah, it's crazy.
Okay. So one of the things that that I also admire is just that you have had clear boundaries with clients. So if people haven't listened, they can go to honestdesigners.
.com.
Is it honestdesigners.com?
Before I say it, yes, that's so special. I'm so bad. I can never remember. Yeah, it's honestdesigners.com. Yeah.
Okay, honestdesigners.com. You can listen to all the episodes. I have actually not missed an episode.
Wow.
I
That's
am
crazy.
I'll go and take my dog to the park and I'll just laugh out loud because sometimes you guys are, and I feel like I'm right there with you. And I really did. I felt like we were already friends. You didn't know me, but I felt like I knew you. And so
Yeah.
it's really nice. And I feel like a lot of people, thank you, Suzanne, for putting that in there. I
Thank
will
you.
make sure that it gets into the show notes for sure. But you are the only girl on Honest Designers. You,
I know,
I
it's
think, have
tough.
been designing the longest out of everybody.
Yeah, probably.
But you have the best boundaries. When you've talked about boundaries, like Dustin didn't have good boundaries, Tom didn't have good boundaries, and he was his own boss. And then Ian's always kind of I mean, I don't think Ian would said he didn't have good boundaries really either.
Mm-mm.
And so I would go back all the way to number one. And Kent says, so now that you mentioned Honest Designers, where's the glass of wine and the stacks of money?
It's too early for a glass of wine, and the stacks of money is a myth.
but I think that you guys, I love how the story how you guys came together. I think Tom kind of reached out to y'all just to kind of get other really good business people together to try to grow a little bit and see what you can learn from each other, right?
Yes.
And then it just evolved. So how did the podcast get started? Because y'all were already clearly meeting online. And then how many episodes in till y'all started doing the podcast?
It's actually quite surreal if I think about it, but yeah. So Tom just said, "Would you be interested, hopping on a call once a week with me and two other guys, just to discuss, the industry stuff, and if you're struggling with something, we can maybe help each other, whatever." So I thought, yeah, okay, that sounds cool. And being in South Africa, that was a huge opportunity because I just never get to see anyone, So yeah, it was quite nice. I was hugely intimidated, I have to tell you, massively. I mean, Dustin was like famous, and Ian is super famous, and here's little old
That's how we
me.
feel about you, Lisa. You're super famous.
No, please
Oh,
don't.
yes. We do. Like, ooh. I mean, you should have seen how many people were like, oh, Lisa Glanz, I can't wait.
I
And
know, please
I
don't think
know.
that. No,
But you're just a person, right? But so
yeah,
are
just a
they.
normal little girl. Yeah, exactly. I know. So that's the thing. I just kept reminding myself, like maybe you do have something to offer. Because I used to think, like, what could I possibly bring to the table, Anyway, so we got a little comfortable. I'd say we probably met maybe 4 times, and then Tom was like, hey guys, some of the stuff we like talking about is quite interesting and like important. Shouldn't we be, what happens if other people would want to hear us talking about this stuff, And I was like, really? Like, who's going to be wanting to listen to us? And yeah, so he said, well, I think we should give it a go. So we did. We just started recording our chats, and then we got a more formalized and coming up with topics, and before you know it, here we are, the Honest Designer Show. It's actually quite freaky, but yeah, it's been fun. It's been huge fun.
It really does. And Amy says that she says y'all's dynamic is great and engaging, and you feel like friends. And so I feel like if you went to a design conference, I don't know if you've been or if there's many in South Africa, but sometime you'll have to come across the
yes, we all want to come to you guys, so yeah.
But I think people would come up to you and they would start talking to you in a way that you would be surprised, because they're just opening up because they feel like, that's one thing I love about you. You've been really honest, and you even about getting an employee, right? You were very
Yeah.
honest and open that this was a fear,
Scary.
and you told us why, you know, because you've
Mm.
kind of been burned in the past. And
Yeah.
so there's all kinds of things that I think is coming out of that, but there's a lot of wisdom coming out. And I love how Tom kind of drives the bus. It feels, you
Yes.
know,
He has to.
oh, and he'll like, okay, it's time for kind of a wrap up. Or sometimes he's like, look, we're going into next week's show. And
Yeah.
I know sometimes you guys record right after each other.
Yeah.
It must
Yeah.
be pretty late for you.
It is. It gets quite late for me. So it's. I mean, I basically have to write off, my whole evening, which is. I mean, that's fine. Obviously, it would be better during the day, but I mean, we can't do anything about that. But yeah, I mean, I do enjoy it, and it's just, what makes it great is the fact that I've met so many people because of it, and obviously I'm good friends now with the guys, and I get emails from people saying, thanks to you guys, I've made the leap. And it's just been amazing and humbling to know that just by sharing a little bit of wisdom, you can actually help someone and make them feel that they're not alone, because, yeah, we've all been through that. It's a scary world, scary world.
So to go back to boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
that show, that episode, and I will link that up, it really spoke to me. There's this book called Boundaries in the Workplace. I mean, there's a book called Boundaries, and it's like for you and your significant other. But then there's one that's really for boundaries in the workplace. And I'm like, man, you should have written this book, Lisa. You were like, why? When Ian was like, well, I just felt like I needed to give them this. And you're like, what? For free? And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like the boys. I just, and I've been doing this. I've been a designer for over 20 years, and I still feel that. And I think I would love to kind of get the inner Lisa Glanz, channel you and be like, so I have to do that sometimes. My sister's very similar to you. She's like, no, that wasn't in the package. They can't ask for extra. You can tell them how much that's going to be, or you could give them a deal on that thing if they want, but the people who just keep coming, Dustin doing that project for a year.
For a year. That's crazy stuff. I mean, that's insane.
That is crazy. But was that something you always, like, even as a kid, you had clear boundaries? Or was it, because I don't know if that's just an innate Lisa Glanz thing, or if that's something that you had to learn.
I had to learn, and I had to learn the hard way and work really hard at it. But I can tell you what almost sort of what's the word? Kind of planted the seed in a way was when I was art director on one of a wine magazine, and I was hiring photographers. And I said to the guy, your work's great. How much do you charge? He told me, and I said, whoa, buddy, that's like, way out of our price range. And, would you be willing to drop your rate? Because that's just, we can't afford it. And he said, he just, without hesitation, he said, I don't drop my rate because that's what I'm worth. You clearly have shown me that you like my work. You've told me that you like my work, and I commit to giving you good quality work. So I'm worth money, and I still think you should go to your boss and negotiate and tell him that you want me. He was oozing confidence. He was oozing boundaries. He was, and I just thought, wow. And that sensation that I had of, I respected him. He was absolutely correct. Why should he take a knock because we didn't want to pay? Even though he may not have had like 1,000 clients and he still needed the work, he was adamant, like, I'm worth it, and you need to pay, and I'll give you what what you want from me. And so that sensation that I had of him, I remember every time, when clients kind of give me hassle, it's not you're doing yourself a disservice and the client a disservice by not putting up those strong boundaries. Because if you are showing them that you're umming and ahhing, and the goalpost kind of moves, each time that they push back, you're not actually giving them a sense of, wow, this person is in control. They know what they're doing. they are confident in their ability, and I just get a sense that they're going to give me the good stuff. So I think it's important to constantly do that. And also that on the other side of that is that you have to remember your time, you owe it to yourself. Your time is worth something, and you can't have somebody else take that away from you. I mean, it's not right. Why do they deserve to take that away from you? So you have to be the only one that's going to look after yourself is yourself. So you have to back yourself, you have to fight for yourself, and unfortunately it is sometimes a fight, but it's worth it. It means so much, and the more you do that for yourself, the stronger you get at it, and the more you back yourself, the more you trust yourself. Again, that sounds weird, but it's just like this vicious circle of building yourself up and getting better at it and getting more comfortable at it. And it's important for the industry, it's important for yourself, it's especially for women. And yeah,
it is. So we'll end with this. We definitely need to have you back on. We'll do another Monday episode or something.
Sorry, because I'm probably rambling way too much.
No. Oh my goodness. Frankie was just saying this is her weakness. This is what I need to hear. And it really does that. So Kim has a great question, and it's related to this. Do you think that there's a way to come back from this if you've already caved with a client? Or like in a negotiation when you've already accepted a job, even if it's for a full-time job or a part-time job or something, and you've accepted it for a lower paying amount, can you, I think a lot of people have a hard time saying, well, it's been 6 months. Could you review me? I'd like to get an increase in salary. Because again, y'all talked about this on the episode, and this was such a great episode. And I will definitely link it up. But it's about, a plumber wouldn't be like, okay, well, it was $75 to fix your toilet. And then, hey, well, before you leave, can you fix my other toilet? And you're like, not for $75. It'll be another
another whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it is to fix a toilet, but just probably way under if you have a plumber coming out. But we need Ian's Bob
builder.
Builder guy. But do you think there's a way to come back from either a client or can you tell us how you would do that?
Yeah. I've actually had a situation before, and the most important thing that you must get across is sound that you are knowledgeable about the job and what it entails. So if you've really so approach the comeback by saying, look, you've assessed the project, whether it's you've started on it or you're already halfway through it or whatever. You tell them you've assessed the project, and you really believed in order to give them better quality and a better product or end result, you need to increase the fee by X. You can say we can keep on this budget. We can go down the same road, the budget that we've discussed. But unfortunately, the time that I initially thought was involved is a lot more, and so we can either keep the budget and I do less, or we increase the budget and I give you a proper, product.
Do you give them a new bid or a new contract if they come back and they say, yeah, could you give me?
Yes. And then what you can do is, that's why it's very important on any quote that you send out that you've got to have that disclaimer. That this is an estimate. It's based on our discussion. It's based on my perception of the job and what you have told me. There's no ways that you can, as a designer, be 100% sure how long something's going to take. I mean, each job is different unless it's exactly the same job every time. But there's no ways. I mean, something could go wrong. They want to add this. They've taken this out. So you've got to have the disclaimer. You've got to, cover your bases by having that and say to them, you've assessed it now. Now that you've worked on it for 2 weeks, you've realized, whoa, I've totally underestimated based on what you've given me. I thought it was this. It appears to be that. We need to go back to the drawing board and come up with a new budget, and always give them an or, because you don't want to just, drop them, or we stick to this budget and then I can give you this, So it's, I don't know how to give this, put this feeling into words, but you have to sound like you are super in control and you are super in charge of the project so much so that they don't even without hesitation go, oh, this girl knows what she's talking about. I'm going to go with what she recommends,
Well, it's like if you're building a house, right, with Bob the Builder, we'll use Ian's friend. You can't be like, oh, well, and I want to add another bedroom. And I mean, people do this, but it's not for free. And so it's just kind of having this, we don't need to feel guilty about that we like what we do. It still costs something to do those changes.
Absolutely. And you can even say, like, if a client says, oh, by the way, I love this design. Can you translate it into a Facebook banner? You can say, wow, that's a good idea. It'll do really well for your brand. It'll cost you $300 or whatever. So look like you're part of their team. Look like you're backing them. Look like you're interested in their business and you want to grow their business, but it's not going to be for free, know? And that as much as you want to see them succeed, you can only do that if they pay you. I mean, it's
the other thing I love when you were talking about this on the show. I mean, you were really like, I was listening, so I can only imagine it. Like your jaw was on the floor, that you couldn't imagine that Dustin and Ian were doing this.
I know,
but I think you had this other. It's like you were like, but I have to support my family. It's like if you come into it saying, well, I have these other responsibilities, nobody else is going to let me out of my, paying for this. So it's like you're coming in, if you pretend like you have employees and you need to make payroll, you are definitely not going to back down and say that Judy can do it for free. Judy's not going to work for free. Judy, you still have to pay Judy. It's going to cost this much.
Absolutely. And it's important to get the message across that if they want a free or cheap service, then they've come to the wrong place. You may not be the cheapest, but you're certainly not going to be the most expensive. That is a guarantee, even though you think you might be, but you're not. I guarantee you that you're not the most expensive, but you got to get it across that you are worth every penny. It's not, any extra work is not free, but it's worth it. And you, always, as I said, give them options. Like if they don't want to take the full package, I used to give people options. The full package was like everything from, so many hours and so many end results, or we go lesser for this amount, whatever. And I would guarantee them, no matter which one they chose, they'd get the best of me. But if there was anything over and above that, they were going to pay.
Just like the photographer. So that photographer really made an impact on how you do business or how you do business.
Yeah, exactly. Because
those guns.
Yeah. And I think the crucial thing there that we all need to work on and remember is that we're worth it. He had absolutely no debate in his mind that he was worth it, and that is, especially as women, because we struggle so much with this. It is so important for us to remember we are worth it, and actually then some, because often women bring not only their skill, but their intuition, a whole lot of sensitivities that men men might lack. But what I'm saying is that because often women think that, the guy down the road is more successful, he's built this business, I'm just a little girl trying to make a living, and my rate is should be this. No, absolutely not. You are swimming in the same sea as everybody else, and you deserve every penny that you earn, and do not do anything for free.
Right.
Unless, of course, it has other sort of things, and you're doing favors and whatever. But I just think if you've taken on a job from a client, it also sets the wrong precedent. It just means that client comes back, well, Sally down the road, she charged me for the website and she did this for free and that for free. And that's not how you want to be remembered. You want to be remembered as, wow, Sally put together this website that is sharp, and I got a business card made from her, and this the next thing. Yeah, okay, it cost me 20 G's, but it was worth every penny. That's the kind of message you want that person to be telling their friend, not like, wow, Sally's cheap. She does everything for free.
Right. Well, I like the guy, the photographer, what's kind of sticking in my head, and I feel like you've really kind of harnessed this and held it, was that he was like, but if you go with me, I'm going to take care of you. You are going to get the best. You are not
Oh,
going to have to worry. So
yes.
it's about experience. You're not, if you want it a lower price, then I suggest you go with somebody with less experience. But here's the things you're going to get. You're going to end up
Yes.
paying for all the things that I've already learned, right?
Mm. Yeah, so I'm really glad you brought that up, because if you are going to be, so confident in your work, you need to back that up. So you can't promise in the world and actually not deliver. In fact, where you can sort of give free or give a bonus is give them something that they weren't expecting. I just have this thing, you have to over deliver. So even though your quote said, I'm going to go with one cover option and but while you're designing, you realize, this guy's brand could actually be improved by, we're adding, why not in your email you say, look, while I was designing this, I actually realized I think you'd benefit from X, Y, and Z. And then that person really feels like you are spending your time and energy on his business. And so to add those kinds of free things, not free designs,
Right, more strategy, or giving them
Yeah,
some tips or something of things that they
exactly. And even if your job didn't entail redesigning their website, but you went on it to do some research, you could say, hey, by the way, while I was researching your brand, I noticed this on your website, you might want to look at that. That all those kinds of things are bonuses, and those are the kinds of things that people remember. That's how you want to be remembered, not because you cheap and nasty. Yeah.
Matt says he loves that. That's not how you want to be remembered. So we're going to take that today. So Kim asked, did you hire the photographer?
Yes.
Oh,
very much so. I went into my boss's office and I fought. I fought for him. So yeah.
So then Kent says, and I do. I think that when you undervalue, if you do something for less and less and less and just keep doing, then you're devaluing our industry. And so
Yes.
Kent's question kind of goes to that. Is this also about educating the public to the worth of graphic design? We're getting paid to do a Photoshop that a 7th grader can do with a template offline.
Yeah, absolutely. So that I spent half, besides, explaining your worth and all that kind of stuff we've just spoken about, the other half of this conversation was explaining the value of graphic design. For example, if you were hiring, you were being hired to do brand design, you came back with a quote, they nearly, fell off the chair because it was too expensive. Half the discussion would be me explaining to them, this is worth the investment for your business. It takes time and energy from my part. It's what the public sees. It's how the public perceives you. It's your voice. It's the first connection to the public, and so on and so on. I mean, we're designers. You know what I'm trying to get at. So, yeah, it is most definitely half educating the clients, the importance of that kind of stuff, because we all know it is important. You don't sell stuff on the shelf, just on its own. It's sold through packaging. And I mean, there's so many things that sell a product just based purely on design. So, and you can run through those with clients. You can explain to them, like, why did you buy that duvet cover? I bet you it was the design on it, not because of the cotton or whatever, so yeah, there's so many things you can use to explain to them.
So Kent asked another question, and Kent, I don't understand what you're asking. And he's my friend. I just saw him on Saturday. He says, how have you been successful doing that? Maybe I'm missing something.
Which part?
I know, that's what maybe he'll type a little bit more. And we'll just do the Jeopardy theme song. Educating the client. How have you been? So, I think you educate the client every time you meet with the client, right? Like I have a client who I've had for 12 years, and she's kind of doing something for this other lady. The other lady sent her some designs, and I was like throwing up in my mouth when I saw the designs. And she said, when I finally met with my client, I was like, the typography was terrible. She goes, oh, I knew it. I knew the typography was terrible, Diane. I told Marilyn that it was awful, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I felt like I had won, because she knew that this other lady didn't know what she was talking about. So do you have a theory on because I guess a lot of the clients that you're working with now, they know the value of design. But when you were working with other clients, I mean, do you think that it's a every time you meet kind of thing?
Well, I was fortunate early on in my business, I managed to get clients that stuck with me forever. So, but I do recall the first few meetings that I had with new clients, and yeah, it is a bit of a battle because, I mean, I remember this one woman, she wanted to use orange on something, on a hideous background color, and I just explained to her that it's just going to do her brand a disservice. Yes, orange might be her favorite color, but it's actually not going to help. And then you can go into a little bit of color theory. You can explain orange normally means that to people, blue normally means that. So you do need to know a little bit of your theory when it comes to design. And if you have that as a backup and you use that, then they take you more seriously. So definitely do your homework. Don't just say, oh, that looks terrible. Tell them why. Tell them why it looks terrible. Tell them why it's not working. And in fact, that's actually how I got my first art director's job. I basically redesigned a couple of pages in their magazine. Instead of just saying to them, your magazine is designed terribly, you need to change it. I actually said, well, this is how I think you should do it, and this is why it's wrong, and this is, so you do need to explain and definitely, back it up with theory, not just ramblings of junk.
So I think I know the answer to this question. It's in the same realm, and this is the last one, I promise. So Matt asked, do we try to educate clients, or we just focus on the clients who already get it? What would you say to that?
It depends on how early on in your business. If you're a long-standing person who's been, in the industry for a long time, and you already have good clients, there's no point in, taking on the small guy who you have to spend so much time and educating. But if you're new, I would say it's a good thing. It's a good thing to take on these people because it trains yourself how to convince a client. It also helps you to understand how clients are seeing things, where they need education on, and it helps you to come up with a good strategy on what to say to people when you're confronted with this kind of thing. But if you're long-standing, I wouldn't bother. I know that's probably not a good idea, but I really
you could what I think, it's kind of like doing good for someone. It's kind of like those pro bonos. You don't want all of them to be like that. You don't want all of them.
No.
But I think having one, it just makes our industry better and are stronger.
Yes.
So if you take on one, then they know. One of my questions in my, like when I have a new client, I have them fill out a questionnaire. And I said, have you ever worked with another designer? And or sometimes it's not online, they're doing it in person, and I'm just taking notes. And, I really learn a lot about if they have worked with someone else, what they didn't like, and why they didn't go back to this person.
Yeah, true.
It's a lot of times you need to ask, how do you like to communicate best? Because there's some people who like phone call, right? They always want you to call them. There's some people who just want an email. Some people are okay with text. Some people, I guess, want written letters from 1870. But I haven't met many of those. But, I think that there's something there in if you have asked them what they've done. It's just like you at a magazine had worked with plenty of photographers, and a lot of photographers had said, yeah, well, okay, we'll go down this time. But he could have said, I would go down if you use me for the next 3 issues, but he didn't, thankfully, and changed the way you worked, and you probably used him again.
He was my photographer for the 2 years I was there.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's as you said, it is kind of our responsibility as designers. Yes, it's frustrating. It's frustrating for us to constantly feel that we have to explain what we do and why it's important and why we're worth it and everything. But in a way, I guess as artists and musicians and all, anything that's creative, we spend our lives trying to convince people the importance of art and why we should be paid for it. And not, I'm still amazed that people still think that music should be free. I mean, how do they expect the artists to live? It's just unreal. But yeah, so it is unfortunately a little bit of our cross to bear in a way. It's just one of those things, because I think it's a little bit as well that people I guess is not as conscious as this, but I think there might be a little bit of a internal struggle for them, that why should I pay somebody to do something that's so nice, to do. You're having fun doing your job, you should be doing it for free. So I guess it is our responsibility, but I think if you're finding yourself constantly doing that, then you need to look at finding different clients. There is nothing wrong with having the odd one, but it shouldn't be draining, the whole time to have to educate them and convince them. And
All right. So I want people, if they don't know about you, I want them to be able to go and purchase and support you as well, and also listen to Honest Designers. So I'm going to start sharing some of your links. So your website is lisaglanz.com.
That's right.
And then on most other, so it's Glanz, GLANZ.com if you're listening. And then on Instagram, it's Glanz Graphics. Again, same spelling. And then 5-minute drawing is one that you just started to do the 5-minute drawing. When did you start that? How many days are you in? Are you keeping track of that?
I'm just literally numbering them. So I think I'm on 52, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I think I'm number 52. Yes, 52.
So I have bought your stuff. I haven't used it for
anything yet, wow.
I love it. And one of the things that I love is that you've always emailed me back. You always have said, "Oh, thank you," whenever I've written you. And I know that that's a ton, because all the money, in the background, around, right?
Yeah, piles.
Right. So you can always see all her products. She has amazing critter creators, those are creatures that you can kind of create. And then there's just a range. You have dogs, you have cats, super cute. So you can go there to lisaglanz.com/product-category/graphics. And then on Pinterest, I wonder if I've never seen ZA, but maybe that's just from.
Oh, I think they just naturally do that in your country. Let me just, if I remove that, would it still come up?
Anyway, it's just Lisa Glanz Design on Pinterest. So you can still check it out. And then on Spoonflower, which I did show before.
Link. Yeah.
Yep. It is, I think I put the wrong one up though. It's spoonflower.com/profiles/Lisa-Glanz. And then her Etsy shop is Lisa Glanz Graphics. And I think
it should all be the same, but it's so complicated.
I think it would be hard to always sell on Etsy, because it's just so inundated. There's so many, people. Yeah. But I mean, do you think you started in 2014 on Etsy?
Yeah, but at that stage, I was selling jewelry. I think Etsy tells you when you signed up or when you started. Let me just actually see. And it shows like the day. Sorry, yeah.
Just honestdesigners.com is the other place you can always find and reach out. And obviously, Lisa does respond to her Instagram.
Yes.
If you say something to a post or whatever.
I do try my best, because I know what that's like.
You do a great job. I mean, I can't wait to see you take a week off or a weekend. Have you been able to be successful about taking a weekend off?
This year, I promised myself that I'm going to do my best to take weekends off. And so far, I've been pretty good at doing the odd one here and there. Like this weekend, I took off, which, look, it does mean that Monday is kind of hectic, because then, you have to catch up and all that. But it's worth it. It's worth it, because you need that time off, and I think I've worked hard enough for a couple of years to take that time off.
Absolutely. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming
Thank
on
you.
at the end of your day today and just giving us just your honesty and your time, and I just love you. So I'm so glad. I can't wait to meet you in person.
I
And
know.
Courtney says thank you. Josh
It's a
says
pleasure.
thank you for your perspective. I really needed to hear the advice on valuing your work with your price and educating the
Yes.
client. And that this is Josh. He's an amazing illustrator. With your price and educating the client about the value you bring. Kent says, thanks for putting a face to the voice on Honest Designers, which they are also online. They're doing it.
We're
Video,
starting to
right?
do video. Yeah.
And Courtney says, thank you. Such good advice. And Suzanne, who works for Dustin, said, thank you for being, whoa, it's going so fast, for being an inspiring woman in the industry. She works with a slave driver.
Yes, exactly. I know all about that, Dustin.
Anyway, thank you so much. And just so you guys know, so there's no Wednesday show. This is the show this week. And next week, because I'm just embracing the whole March Madness, it is Lisa Quine, or you might know her as Lisa Lorick, but she got married and she changed her last name. She is a letterer from Cleveland, and she is going to be on next Tuesday. I don't even remember what time it is. So watch for the graphics. It'll be at the top of all the graphics, and it'll be in your email. And I will definitely, Josh says definitely yes on a part 2. I think Amy said that also. Linda said that also.
Cool.
We'll get one scheduled.
Yes.
And hopefully maybe this worked for you, but it really
it's been great.
Ton of value. I can't wait to show you more of my, just that I've continuing and working. I'm going to get out of my funk today. So
Good. I hope so.
It really does help to know that you were there. And that you still are pushing yourself and you're still learning.
Yeah, so much to learn. I mean, I have piles of books that I still want to get through and still look through, and because I know there's just so much stuff that you can learn. And yeah, I've got a long way to go, but I'm excited. I'm excited for the journey. And I mean, like you, I have my off days, but I think that's part of it. So well, yeah, Lisa, just keep going.
You're a superstar to us. So
thank you.
I'm so glad that you joined the Honest Designers, and I'm so glad that I'm able to talk to you today. And thank you.
Yeah, it's been great.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And if anybody needs to reach out to me, because I always forget to do this, you can always rate the podcast on iTunes. That helps it get up in ratings. That would be super helpful. Just give a little review. And then you can always reach out to me. I'm on all the Twitter, Instagram at Design Recharge, or you can email me at diane@rechargingyou.com. And we'll see you next Tuesday because we're embracing March Madness.